Joey's gonna do roll.
Do roll. All right. Dr. Corbin,
Present.
Ali,
Present.
Casey,
Here.
David. Oh, he said he wasn't gonna be able to make it. Chris,
See Chris.
Adrian, Erin,
Here.
Sabrina,
Here.
Zoanne,
Here.
Present.
Patty,
Here.
Bill,
Bill wasn't gonna make it today.
Allison,
Right here.
and Jessica Green.
Here.
Thank you so much. We're gonna move to public comment. Do we have somebody?
Yes.
Megan is in?
We have Megan in the queue. Megan, you've been here before, I believe, and so you have 2 minutes to speak. And we will allow you to talk.
Just to refrain from providing any of your personal information.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Megan Stefik, and I have come in the past representing Turf Pal Park, which is a group of Cleveland parents advocating for turf athletic fields at Pal Park for Cleveland High School. My time lately, though, has been spent advocating for the PPS bond, which thankfully was approved, and I am very grateful to Portlanders for that. What I'm here for is to let you know that about a week before that special election, our baseball team came to a game at the Pal Park and found the facility broken into. And a lot of their equipment was stolen, and their locks for the shed were then jammed in a way that they couldn't get to the rest of their equipment for their game. And that's just a regularity. All right, it's not the first time for baseball or softball over at Woodstock Park. They experience regular theft, unsanitary porta potties, houseless individuals in the restrooms there at Woodstock. And the list goes on. I know a parent on the baseball team who submitted a letter to Director Long about all of this when it happened a couple weeks ago. And just to acknowledge Director Long, she had mentioned park rangers have responded to 518 visits to Powell Park over the past year, responding to 40 illegal encampments and 67 off-leash dog incidents. And Director Long then said that she's asked increased presence to deter that kind of inappropriate behavior, and that on June 3rd, she'll be meeting with PPS to explore the collaboration around Powell Park. So thank you, Director Long, if you're at the table. I wanted to acknowledge that the Portland Police Bureau Commander Hughes replied and asked that the neighborhood response team increase their presence around spring sports and games, and that he said he would be in dialogue with Parks and Rec. So this is all more of an update, but why I'm here really is just to say that I'm continuing the forward momentum. The Cleveland High School Modernization Team has submitted the high school design documents to the City of Portland to begin with an early assistance meeting for permitting. And I know that's a long process. I just would urge you to clear any obstacles in collaboration with PPS and PPB that will uplift Southeast Portland immediately, because a secure facility, a secure athletic facility at Powell Park is just a win-win. And if we can do it this year, well, honestly, it just doesn't need to wait for the Cleveland High School construction timeline. And some of our concerns around Chief Operating Officer Dan Young leaving PPS is that we want to make sure that Parks and Rec has a contact and a direct avenue to discuss this project with PPS. So to that end, I am here to ask if there's an alternate that you're working with, and what we can do as a community to help, again, with the forward momentum. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you so much. I believe staff, are you gonna be able to follow up?
Yes.
So staff is gonna follow up with you offline.
Yes, and I will forward comments to Director Long. Forgot to mention, at the beginning of the meeting, but Director Long is currently at City Hall right now with council. They decided to do a special council session, splitting up the budget meeting to happen today and tomorrow so that they don't have another 15-hour budget meeting session like they did last month. So because they said parks would be the first to be addressed on the amendments, they're currently, as we speak, discussing some of the parks amendments right now at City Hall. So Director Long and DC Shemansky and the other division managers are over there right now, just to be plain. So that's why Joe and I are manning the fort. We'll definitely forward the comments to Director Long. And I believe, I don't have any much to say about the collaboration with PPS right now, but I know with the transition of Dan Young from stepping down as COO that they are working with partnerships over there in collaboration with the new incoming staff. So thank you, Megan.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come out and talk with us. It's a highly unusual time for Parks and Rec because Director Long is usually here. But as I said, staff will be following up with you, and I hope we can hear more from you at a later time with another update. So thank you.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
Do we have any others that are here for public comment? If so, please raise your hand.
That is all.
All right, thank you so much. And we're going to be moving on to general announcements. So I have a general announcement, kind of a bittersweet moment. I have multiple glasses now because I'm between site stuff. So I want to thank Casey, as well as Aaron, David, and Chris for your time served on the Portland Parks and Recreation Board. And I know I'm gonna miss out on some of the multiple things that you've contributed to over the years. So Casey has served as vice chair of the Board Affairs Working Group, chair of the Financial Sustainability Working Group, and probably many other things. Casey has been such a support system in providing both Ally and I updates of the Willamette as well as the Oregonian articles regarding Parks and Rec. I do look forward to them usually on Sundays, so I immensely appreciate that. And Casey has just been an all-around, VIP on the board. So just expressing my appreciation. Then we have Aaron. I believe Aaron, you were my board buddy when I started. Thank you so much for welcoming me on the board. And I believe we served as co-chairs at one point.
Yeah.
At the Community Engagement Working Group.
Mhm.
You were on the Portland Parks Foundation and you're stepping off from that. And what else? Because you were here before me.
Well, I did a lot with Healthy Parks, Healthy Portland,
That's
served on some of
right.
those working groups. I served on the Mill Park, what's it called?
Project
Community
Advisory
group.
Committee.
Yeah.
Yes, you are on the
The committee, chaired nominating committee.
Oh, yeah.
I was on nominating committee a lot. Budget Advisory Committee, Financial Sustainability Working Group. I was on that Board Affairs Working Group for a while. And then, for newer people, I've been pretty busy with some other commitments, so I've been a little less engaged, but yeah, spent countless hours in meetings and hopefully making some kind of difference, so.
Thank you so much for all of the hours served and all of the times you've welcomed multiple new board members on. Then we have David, who couldn't be with us here today, which is the chair of the Land Use and Infrastructure Working Group. And Chris also will be offboarding. And Chris, I believe we were on the Title 11 together. Is that correct?
Or Title 20.
20. What are numbers, right?
Yeah.
Title 20. And have served on multiple ad hoc committees as well as serving on working groups. And so I just want to thank you. And We have a cutting board for you here. Erin. For those, Casey, yours will be mailed to you. And I just want to take this time to open up the floor to board members if you want to say anything in honor of our board members that will be off-boarding.
Yes, Ally.
We're losing 4 really big people. So it's like there's a huge impact on the board from losing so much institutional memory, passion, expertise. I feel really lucky to have worked with everybody on a committee or in some way. And I'll say especially for Erin and Casey, who were on the board before me, like Corbin, so welcoming and helped answer questions and bring along and like invited, hey, let's get coffee, and just really the expertise, the kindness, the passion for parks. I also look forward to Casey's articles. And Casey, like, this is what's happening. And just a massive shout out to everybody. But I just want to say, Casey, if there's work to be done, has rolled up his sleeves every time to do it. And I am so grateful for that. And I'm going to miss that immensely. And I'm going to miss everybody. Erin and I worked a lot together in the beginning. Chris and I have worked on things together. David, I've watched you such a wonderful job on land use and infrastructure. And I'm so excited about the new blood coming on. And I'm also mourning the loss of the people who have been so great at shaping the board over the last many years. So thank you.
Thank you, Ally. Yeah, another
Jessica.
Jessica, please go ahead.
Yeah, I feel the same as you, Ally. Casey has always been a very strong advocate for Portland Parks Foundation. I also really enjoy seeing, I feel like every time I go to a parks event, all of who we're talking about is always there. So it has always felt very collaborative. Casey was incredibly helpful on our small grants committee. Erin sitting ex officio on our board and also participating in our workshops. Chris on our Friends and Allies steering committee. It feels a little bit like a lot of people are rolling off our board as well for the foundation. So I hope that you all stay engaged after the fact. I know it can be hard, but don't forget about us over there at the foundation. And thank you all for being good partners.
Thank you, Jessica. Matt.
Yeah, I'll echo most of that and say your commitment is an inspiration, and I hope you take a moment to pat yourselves on the back and also just breathe and give yourself some space to.
Sven, go ahead.
You all have been so articulate. I just want to add that when I came on board, it was overwhelming. There's so much to learn. And all of you demonstrate that level of steady smartness, very strategic in how you approach your engagement. And particular Casey, I have to say, you called me out so many times. Like, Swen, that was very hard to say no to you. But I learned how to respond by saying, you lead, I will come along. So you were very generous for kind of pulling all of us into the next opportunity to do good work. And all of you, I am sure you cannot just walk away because you're here because you have the passion and belief, and hopefully we're all going to stay in touch. And I think you can be so bored without working on the board.
Thank you, Suen. And on a lighter note, Casey, although he will not be a board member, has graciously decided to continue as a community member on the Board Affairs Working Group as we get our documents together. So some of us are going to be very lucky to still be able to be in community with Casey. And hopefully, Aaron, David, and Chris, we can be in community maybe over a Portland beverage, whether it's warm or cold. Thank you so much, and just a clap. A cutting board.
Yay!
Make sure you get this.
Thank you. So nice. Wow.
It's hefty.
It's heavy. Yeah. All right, thank you so much.
This is for one of our down trees. That's how we-
Usually our carpenters will try to use reclaimed wood as much as they can. Yeah.
He's obsessed with you.
They do love making these, because it's not like the usual boring stuff. They do like a fun activity.
We have one more big event. The nomination of the Portland Parks Board officers. So we have two nominations coming forth. We have Ally nominated as chair and Matt as vice chair. So I guess we have to do this as official vote. First of all, do you accept the nominations? Officially, Ally?
Yes, and I'm feeling a little under the weather, otherwise I'd be there in person, so apologies for that.
Thank you, Matt.
Yes.
Okay, it's on the record, folks. So putting forward a nomination to put forward a vote to just vote in both Ally and Matt as our new officers. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? Anything, Ally or Matt, you would like to say beforehand?
I'll just say that I really like the direction that we've gone as a more advocacy-driven board and kind of more hands-on. So I'm really excited to, if elected or whatever it is, I'm excited to continue that work. And for the board members who are leaving, I'm also excited to see what it means to engage former board members more with parks and advocacy and keeping that thread going. So beware.
I'll express my appreciation to Ally for stepping up in a big way. Thank you, and look forward to all the board just kind of sharing the leadership.
With that, all those in favor of electing Ally as the new chair and Matt as the vice chair? Hands up. All those in favor? Michelle, let us know.
Hands. All right. Patty, I'm assuming you're voting yes?
Yeah.
Are there any abstentions or was that unanimous?
Unanimous.
All right. So thank you so much again for stepping up, and it was wonderful serving as your chair over the last 2 years. And I look forward to following you guys' lead. So thank you so much.
Well, you're running the meeting, so you can't take a moment to give thanks to yourself. But as the successor, I just want to say, and as your vice chair, right? I've been working with you for the past year. I'm so grateful for your leadership, Corbin. I'm so grateful. It's a tumultuous time, and it is not an easy job, and you do it with such dedication. And the Parks and Rec and the Parks Board has been very lucky to have you, and I'm so glad that you're continuing on, because that means we get to continue to have your knowledge and your expertise throughout. So I'm really grateful.
Thank you so much, Ally. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to not being nervous about sharing. And I look forward at some point to passing the gavel to you, Ally. With that, I have one more announcement. I want to thank Casey, Allison, and particularly Sue-Lin, who actually got a board's letter, I would say, as an op-ed
Well.
in the newspaper.
We started with an op-ed
Yes,
that was 699 words, and we heard back from the Oregonian. editorial side and say, can you guys cut it down to 250, please? It's like, oh my gosh, and Allison, I said, come on, go for it. I was out of town, but it was a great teamwork, it was great teamwork, you know.
Yes, I mean, from what, Thursday to Monday?
Yeah.
Passing the baton, editing, emails back and forth, you know, zigging and zagging to get it in. It was wonderful to see the teamwork across folks, you know, via email. And so thank you so much for your hard work, as well as, I believe, Ally and Casey, as well as getting the board letter out to city council and mayor as we deal with this budget situation. So thank you all around, very proud of the board showing up in multiple ways over the last couple of months. And thank you to staff for keeping us informed and supporting us as we maneuver the best way we can in a very precarious government situation right now. So thank you.
We also have several new board members
Yes.
sitting in.
Yes, they're going to be sworn in, I believe, on Thursday.
Not officially, so we do, it's almost like a pre-council meeting where we meet with the committee. And they will, all the new nominees will be joining us virtually and in person, a mix of both. And what's being done a little differently this year is the committee, we do a presentation in the committee about the Parks Board and who we're nominating. And the committee also take a chance to chat with each of the nominees before voting. And then after they vote this Thursday, they're going to go to council next week on Wednesday, June 18th. The nominees don't have to be there, but Director Long and I will be there on the 18th at 6 p.m. during the council session.
Thank you for the procedural process and supporting our new board members coming in. We look forward to being in community with you on the board. And what else? Make sure.
May I add a couple things? I just wanted to add with the new board nomination, something that was decided as well was to just help consolidate meetings and to encourage the leadership over here at the board. The board agenda meeting and the board affairs meeting will actually be combined. And so we will do like a board agenda setting meeting with all chairs of the working groups, as well as the board chair and the vice chair. So we've realized in the past year that a lot of stuff that would be talked at the board agenda meeting would be talked at the board affairs meeting and vice versa. So we thought to do one meeting. I think it was Dr. Coleman that suggested that, which we think is a great idea. So that procedure will change a little bit, I think, for the better. And then also just wanted to remind folks, I sent out a hold for August 1st. It was a Friday for the new folks and the remaining board members of our board retreat. So that's a Friday, August 1st. It will be all day. You do not have to come in person because we will make this hybrid. For the new folks, what typically happens is that it'll be from about 9 to 3:30. And what we do in the first few hours is to conduct a regular board meeting with, a presentation from our staff with topics of discussion. We break for lunch, and then in the afternoon, we use that time to do any strategic planning or have any kind of onboarding topics and discussions about the board. And we have several topics possible. One especially being something from Jacob, one of our new board members, and Ally. They're going to be doing something about kind of teaching public advocacy one-on-one, essentially, for folks so that we can be even more rallied as the levy comes along.
And a couple more things. One, July, we will not be meeting because we will be on recess. So if you show up, I still let you know that. And again, very much looking forward to seeing the new board members at the retreat. And before we switch over, just want to give space one more time. Casey, Aaron, David is not here, or Chris, if you want to say any parting words before we jump into this.
Casey, you want to go first?
Sure. Of course I want to speak. First of all, I know a lot of staff isn't there, but I really want to thank the park staff. And Michelle and Joey, you guys have been fantastic in terms of supporting us. And it's been an honor and a privilege to be on this board. Everybody on this board has been really amazing, really has been. Just great to work with you. But I wanted to tell the new people in particular what I regret. And what I regret is that I didn't go to enough park events. I'm gonna highly encourage you guys to go to as many park events as you possibly can. Because it's a great way to get involved, to get to know more, to be in the community. So volunteer events, openings, all that kind of stuff. Foundation events too. Go to those and advocate more. I also regret that I didn't advocate more earlier. We're in a much better position now with Corbin and Ally's leadership, that we're much more better advocates than we were in the past. And advocate more as an individual, advocate more as a board member. I think if you get engaged more in those ways, it'll be much more rewarding experience.
Thank you, Casey.
Well, it's a good time for you to say that because it is June, which means summer free for all is happening. So I will put a link in the chat as to what is available. Also, I just did the 5K fun run at Lens Park this weekend. So if you want to go to the next one is in July 13th at Columbia Park.
And isn't there a park opening coming?
There is a park opening. We were actually going to say that to announce that during the director's report,
sorry.
but this Thursday, June 12th, Park Lane Park is doing their opening, and we are all very excited for Park Lane Park because I know that's been a long time coming. And I think we're kind of built up from the fact that Mill Park's opening didn't happen as we anticipated. So this Thursday, I believe the ribbon cutting or speeches itself will start at 3:30, but the event itself is goes until about 6 o'clock this Thursday at Park Lane Park.
Erin, did you?
Yeah, sure. Casey was so eloquent. I was kind of like, why didn't I go first? And then he could have said all that amazing stuff after. I think his points are really good ones. I will say, and make a lot of sense because it's kind of, when you're on this kind of public advisory body, which is most of my experiences with nonprofit boards, a struggle sometimes to know, well, what exactly are you doing? What's your purpose? What's your role? We've had many conversations with Corbin, Casey, all that about the Parks Board. And just like personally, I will say after 6 years, I joined at I don't want to take up too much time, but 2019, my dad was always very civically engaged, worked for Multnomah County for decades. He passed away in 2019, and that was the year that I joined this board after he had passed away. And that was very important moment for me, being able to join this board. I feel like I've learned just like enormous amounts. I mean, I have all this information in my head, which is beneficial, it's good to know that. And I'll just end with, I'll always be a supporter. I'm looking forward to being a private citizen, very easy to help advocate for anything that's actually gonna be a ballot measure. So I look forward to doing what I can as a private citizen to advocate when we get to that point. So, yeah.
And Chris, you want to share any?
I don't think Chris is here.
Oh, okay. All right, well, thank you so much. And then we're going to move to, I believe the director's report.
Minutes first.
Oh, minutes. Oh, we're gonna vote on the minutes. Are there any corrections, additions, friendly amendments? Is there a motion to adopt the minutes as is?
Make the motion.
We have a second.
Second. Oh.
Go with Allison. Any discussion? All right, those who are in favor of voting in the minutes as is,
Please raise your hand.
please raise your hand. Do we have any abstentions? We were not here last month. Okay, so moved. Anybody voting against the minutes?
I think so.
I think we're all good. Thank you so much. And now moving to the director's report.
right? Director Long, as busy as she is, has actually put together a director's report that I'm gonna kind of read off verbatim, but feel free to ask any questions, and whatever I can't answer, I will make sure to pass on to her and we can do a quick follow-up. She wanted to make sure that there was a reminder about the Park Lane opening on Thursday at 3:30. So everyone is welcome. Everyone should have had an invite. Hopefully it's already on your calendars and you're already planning on being present. Parks levy. So last week, City Council held a meeting at which staff provided details related to replace the new Parks levy that does expire in June of 26. And since then, we've responded to multiple questions and provided additional information to support the council with their deliberations. We anticipate additional meetings will take place throughout the month, and she wants to say thank you to the staff and to the board for their support. Currently, right now, they're in a special city council meeting to hear all of the amendments that involve parks. And so I would tell you right now that the Zimmerman amendments, 2 of them have already passed. Right now, they are actually hearing several more, and they will be until about 6 o'clock tonight. Whatever they don't finish from parks tonight amendments will start tomorrow morning at 9:30 at City Council. Council doesn't actually have an agenda for tomorrow, so that they can just pick up right where they left off this afternoon. Something else she wanted to share was the temporary SDC exemptions for housing production ordinance, and the code language was filed yesterday. And she wanted to share a few takeaways. She said the code language has an effective date of October 1st, 2025. And the major deadline is that all the permits must be issued by September 30th of 2028 to be eligible for the waiver. The code applies to all new housing units, not ADUs, since they already have an existing waiver, and includes office to residential construction. Builders are required to meet one of 2 options to lock in the waiver, either a construction milestone 1 year from permit issuance, or a construction completion guarantee from an accredited financial institution. In addition, there is a considerable interest from the mayor and city council in a larger review of SDCs and how they're used. And so even though we've made commitments to this effect in the adopted housing production strategy, she suspects that they will be continued to be discussed as part of council discussions. The item will be at the Finance Committee on June 16th with a currently held date of July 17th for City Council. One last one was that PGE has filed an appeal with the Land Use Board of Appeals for their Forest Park transmission project. And Laura Lehman, our environmental planner's understanding is that the Land Use Board of Appeals would do an on-the-record hearing and that public testimony will not be accepted. Only parties who submit a brief on the matter can testify. So we believe PP&R's role here will be limited to supporting PP&D staff and their city attorneys, but we'll be communicating with them. And that's all she has. Any questions?
Opening up the floor to the board.
I put a question in the chat. Just which of the Zimmerman amendments have passed?
I would tell you in just a second. So I will share that if you did take a peek at the amendments that were listed by City Council, Councilor Zimmerman did actually change a couple of his amendments and he redid them. Give me 1 second, I'm trying to find them. They weren't sent to us until this afternoon at 1:49. They were pretty major amendments for us. So first amendment was to move 100% of Parks levy funds, just over $2 million from the tree regulation program within urban forestry and reallocate the Parks levy funding to the Parks maintenance program. And the second amendment was amend to move all aspects of the tree regulation program and staff from urban forestry programs in Parks and Recreation and move it to the Portland Permitting and Development Bureau. So those are the 2 that passed.
Good question.
Suen,
Oh,
go
I
ahead.
think Casey was next, sorry.
Okay, Casey, Suen, are there others?
I have 2. I'm just shaking my head on the Zimmerman. Just on the CDC thing, you might have said this, but what's the term of that? Is it still just 3 years?
It's 5.
It's 5 years.
It's 5 years.
3 years
Okay.
or 5,000 housing units, whichever comes first. But they are
We've been
not,
mixing up the-
yeah, we've been totally transposing those numbers too ourselves. But yes, it is 3 years or 5,000 units. Unfortunately, it doesn't specify what kind of units, so it could be across the board.
You all are gonna have a lot to do. I do, my other question, and Joe, you may not know this, but I attend virtually the first hearing on the levy. And during that hearing, Councilman Zimmerman gave a reference to a situation in the 4th district where some citizens of the 4th district had brought some issue to Parks. He didn't say what. And that Parks did not respond, and so they brought it to him. He then contacted Michael, the city administrator, who then told Parks to fix it, and they did. And I'm wondering if you know anything about what that situation was, and if we had to divert priority to other things, what it was diverted from. You may not know.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I can share quite a bit on this. I want to be able to really pick and choose my words correctly and make sure that they are coming from myself and not representative of Director Long. I will say that the concerns that came were from Cooch Park. His Councilor Zimmerman's office reached out to us about some concerns, some unsavory behavior at Cooch Park, and had asked us for some operational decisions that his office made, and we're making that request. And we responded. We have multiple emails back and forth to his office saying that we would look into the matter further. We welcome them to come on a ride along. And I will share that the response that we got back from the office was, again, my words, nobody else's. In my opinion, I felt were very unprofessional. And so because he did not like our response, he went directly to the city administrator. The city administrator, actually, we all said, please work, with the councilors. And so we did. We had a joint meeting with the Portland Public Schools, as well as with Prosper and the Portland Police Bureau. And we have actually made several changes already to Cooch Park, including our rangers have done ride-alongs with PPD, like joint patrols with them. We have actually done some significant landscape improvements. We've looked at a lot of other opportunities there, like with Prosper, to do some additional lighting. Again, all of this is unfunded, but we are looking into it. Some artwork, some tree removals, a litany of things. Not everything is able to move forward because not everything belongs to us. Some of it is not on our property. But that's the concern that he brought up. And I will actively say that I was on the communications back and forth to the office. So I will actively say that that is my truth. And I guess I'll end it there.
Thank you. Thank you for adding to that.
Any follow-up questions, Casey?
No.
Any follow-up questions from the board on the specific issue before?
I have a quick one. You said all that effort from Portland Parks on the Cooch Park was unfunded.
Yes, there's no
So-
current funding for a lot of the improvements that we are.
So when we do that, what are we drawing out that also then, because this is one situation, what if there are 5 more? I mean, are we just constantly trying to put out the fire with absolutely nothing in the pocket to take care of it? What are we increasing or deepening,
Yeah.
as you say?
No,
it's not
when
funded?
that's a great question. When I say unfunded, like right now, we've got 2 park rangers for the entire district in that area. And when you talk about where did we lose something? Like instead of those 2 park rangers being on the waterfront, which we know we've got a lot of concerns down there, right, with all of our events going on and also unsavory behavior. We now have put some park rangers, not permanently, but at specific times of the day, like during school drop-offs, school pickups. And so that's where we kind of lose a little bit of resources. These rangers aren't in the community, they're really in one specific area. And so that's where I can say that we lose a little bit of resources for the rest of the district. when I refer to unfunded, some of these projects cost quite a bit of money, like in order to put in, you know, and again, none of this is for sure certainly happening. These are just potential ideas, was that we had to upgrade some of the electrical, we had to do some of that work if Prosper were to come in and put in lights. So that's the kind of things that are unfunded. However, we do actually have partners that are willing to help us. And so we're still kind of figuring that piece out now. So we might not necessarily be paying for all of that out of a Parks and Recreation budget, but we definitely will be.
I'm a little bit concerned
yeah.
just because this is a very typical of squeaky wheels gets the.
Exactly,
Mhm.
that is
Well,
100%.
And it's a little bit unfair to other projects that are kind of more prioritized, more urgent, but no one was advocating for those in a very high position
Yeah.
player. And is the board's affair or what is the staff also trying to figure out, is there some kind of protocol that we can all agree, all meaning the city council members as well as parks and other bureaus, because we can pull back and forth all over the place and we become really spread thin and then we gonna get deeper and deeper into a chaos just because someone else is not happy about something else.
I mean, that's the $1 million question that we are really, really struggling with, you know, with the new form of government. We were letting city council be legislative and we would be, you know, more operations. And we have struggled with that. And I don't know that there is a fix or a solution for that at this time. So that's just my honest opinion.
Maybe just a quick recommendation, the city council members, if they really wanna have something done, bring the money along with them. So
Yeah.
at least we have some padding.
Yeah,
You're not gonna get any disagreement, I think, from our office there.
I'm highly concerned. I'm not gonna play around with words, because you can't be browbeating
Right.
departments and bureaus into getting what you want and not finding the funding that's necessary to run the park system adequately. And this is almost beyond squeaky wheel. This is a particular district that has the most park space. We have districts that don't have sidewalks and enough parks that are dealing with EJ issues and, you know, climate change issues and overheating. And there needs to be a process in place, because every time, we can't have 4 fiefdoms because of this new government. And so something has to be put in place as a process, whether that's community members coming to the board. But I find this alarming that this is how it unfolded. And I would love to hear more about how, as community members, as residents, as people who are constituency, like, how do we engage this in a real material way? I'm sure you don't have the answers for us right now, but I find that highly problematic. So I'll leave it there.
Yeah, the perception is not.
It's beyond perception. It's if it's not funded adequately, to come back 5 years and talk about how Parks and Rec is not managing their budget and why do they need a levy, and then pitting bureaus against bureaus, and as they shrink, you know, the spending power of Parks and Recreation, but they still want all the amenities. You have to pay for what you want. You have to show up in a real material way. Or you have to suffer the consequences like the rest of us and have a reduced park system. You know?
The results and the solutions that have been at Cooch Park have been phenomenal. But the process, I think, was a challenge for all of us.
Yeah, it's wonderful. But who loses in the end? The ones that can't show up to City Hall, that don't have the voice, that might be precarious in their rental units and don't have air conditioning or the correct language or education or ability to take time off to rally.
Yeah.
for their rights to both the city and to public services that we all pay taxes for. Right? Sorry.
We've got a couple quite hands raised.
I'll get off my soapbox. Are the hands that are on the screen are they part of the same thread or are they new conversations?
Additional questions. Adrian had her hand up first, so can go.
Adrian, is this part of this
Thanks.
current?
Yes, it is part of the thread. Yeah.
Wonderful. Go ahead,
So,
Adrian.
yeah, so first of all, here for what you're saying, what, you know, the last few comments have been. I find it alarming. Maybe I'm confused, but the city council job descriptions were billed as setting policy, and that management was going to go to professional managers. I mean, that was the change that I believe we voted in. Now, I don't know what the job description looks like now for the city councilors, but to sort of say, oh, you know, you need to take rangers within Parks and Rec and put them from here to there, that's management, you know, or you need to take, you know, all of permitting staff, right, and move it from here to there within urban forestry, you know, use that funding for maintenance. So honestly, I am not sure that these decisions that are being made are, you know, I'm not sure legal is the right word, but sort of within scope. And we're reacting as sort of normal citizens that this is craziness. So yeah, I'm also interested in, you know, others' thoughts on how we could productively move forward with this. I'm sorry, I was kind of cutting in and out because of my signal. So the two amendments that you read, they were passed?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, just, you know, from my insight from the urban forestry side, I just want to know this, you know, want to kind of give this board my insight into it. So we feel that basically if you take away all funding from permitting, it will have disastrous effects on the urban canopy. You know, when it's looked at, okay, how are permits filed, and therefore it just will be a free-for-all. So, you know, just a disaster. I don't have enough insight into, okay, what would it mean? It's obviously very disruptive to move the functions entirely, you know, from Parks and Rec and urban forestry to permitting. You know, I have no idea what the rationale is, but clearly very disruptive. Yeah, the whole thing is a disaster.
Adrian, my response to that would be to watch this afternoon's session because there was rationale, there was explanation. And I would say if you log on about 4 o'clock and watch
Okay.
it till about 5:10 or 5:15, that'll be about an hour and 15 minutes that they spent on those two amendments.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Adrian. Ally, are you part of the same thread?
Yeah, it's on the two amendments. So two things. One, and we don't necessarily need to get into this right now, but I'm wondering if you know what the vote was, you know, how many council folks voted for it and against. And I want to know if Parks is starting to track the voting records of individual council members to and how they vote on Parks issues. And if Parks, if the Bureau is tracking that, or isn't, they should. If they are, then I would really love that to be something that's shared with the board so that we can also track it and see where we might want to focus our energies from an advocacy perspective to see who still needs convincing and work those angles. So that would be my hope. So a question and hopefully something we can work with.
I'll respond to that, but then probably we'll wrap this up, I think, to stay on time. The Zimmerman, the first one was Koyama Lane was no, Murillo was no, Novick was no, Avalos was no. All the rest were ayes. And then on the second vote, same exact thing, and then green was also a no.
Okay, and Joey, if any other amendments related to parks pass or fail during this meeting and you get updated, if you could throw it in the chat, that would be super helpful.
I don't know that, so I'm on the chat that's active right now, but they aren't in this chat
He's
specifically.
in like a group chat where they're just
Yeah,
texting. It's
yeah.
not, nothing's official
I got
yet,
an
but
update.
they'll do a count and update the documents. And we'll send it out to everyone for people to read once they're finished.
And are you all tracking voting based on individual council vote?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, if we could get access to that or a different document shared with us, so that it could be a living document and we see how it goes, that would be great.
Yeah, and that one might be fluid and might take a little bit of time to get to you. I don't know exactly. I have to find it. Like I know the the council clerk takes all of this information in, and then it often takes them several days to get back to us. However, whenever I see it, I will tell Director Long to make sure that we share it with the board.
Thank you, and I believe the Portland Parks Foundation had a questionnaire that went out to the council members pre-election about their dedication or understanding around parks and recreation. Jessica, if you're still online, is that available to the public?
Yeah, I was about to drop the link in the chat.
Thank you so much.
Can I add one comment just to close the loop?
Yes, please.
Just in response to Adrian's comment where she talked about the role of council and policy, I just want to reiterate, and I think it's been said before, but at the moment, the way that city staff are being directed, we're being directed to be pretty responsive to questions by city staff. We're trying to make sure that there's, what's the word? Essentially, we're being directed to be responsive to city staff inquiries, however many they may be. We still are directed to be responsive. And so when we're talking about this kind of juggling of what's operational versus what is legislative or policy, I think they are still figuring it out. And so the city administrator has said, since they're still kind of figuring out the role of city council and how much involvement they have with city operations, if there is involvement, our direction is to be responsive and to their inquiries, to their comments. And we are working closely and looping everyone in. So whenever a council person reaches out to even a staff member, maybe someone, a irrigation worker at a park, they're being directed to loop in the director as well as the DCA. They can't just answer questions on their own, like everybody gets involved. So it's a lot of time. But just to respond to what Adrian was asking about, like, how much involvement do they really need to have in this? I think they're still figuring it out because it's a new form of government. And I think there are people who are split on how much they should be involved.
Thank you, Michelle. I believe it was
Aaron next.
I had Casey, Subin, Matt, and then Aaron.
Oh, okay.
Is that correct? So did you have?
Aaron's.
Was it Aaron?
I'll be
Go
quick.
for it.
Well, I don't
Go
know,
for it.
but I just want, so it doesn't, with the District 4 issue, maybe a little bit of a different, or maybe I'm misunderstanding or a little different perspective. Yes, they should be like their idea is to move to more of a legislative body, right? And yet you're gonna have people complaining, and because we have districts now, you're gonna have people who are responsible for those districts who are then gonna try to do something about it. It doesn't like surprise me. But in the end, it's the city administrator who gives you the direction, right? So, which is how it's supposed to be, where you have a chief administrator. So it doesn't seem to me like it's like, that's the direction you're being given by the person at the top of your, chain. And that's maybe, nobody has to comment on this, but that's maybe the problem. Like, because if Counselor Zimmerman or whoever comes and says, we've got this issue, come and bring your rangers over to Cooch Park. You don't have to do anything unless you've been told to do that by the chief administrator.
I'm gonna just make
I know
one
one needs to
comment
make any-
and just
yeah.
say you are not wrong.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the one thing I would say is like, doesn't surprise me what the counselors are doing, I mean, they can figure that out or whatnot, but in the end, it's not like it's, yeah, that, anyway, that's enough.
The process issue.
Yeah,
That's why I'm saying, like, the city administrator,
Yeah.
he has directed all the
Right.
bureaus to be responsive.
right,
But Zimmerman went to the city administrator because he didn't like. what
yeah,
was
which
said.
doesn't surprise me. But I mean, he could have not done that, but like, if you have people complaining to you and then you're their counselor, it's like you're gonna try to resolve the issue, right? I mean, I don't love it, I don't like the outcome, I'm not saying, I'm not like in disagreement, it's just like they can say no, you can say no, you know,
It's a process.
Yeah.
I just wanna make,
sorry.
that's what the job is for. I'm glad that we're having a lively conversation, but we do have some board members that have some questions that they wanna ask, and I wanna make sure that we get through the agenda because we are at 5:57 right now. I have Sue-Lin, are you good?
Well, it started by Casey asking a question, it runs around with everybody's all fired up.
We're gonna, yeah, we're transitioning. Do you have a question?
I do have a question regarding, when Joey, you mentioned about the levy. So what is the amount that we are?
To be determined.
Okay, because all this, the discussion here just now is gonna start affecting what is reasonable.
Yeah.
And then I also have seen city councilors very vocal in a way. I think they represent their district well, but then they also in the position almost like scolding the Michael Jordan, I'm sorry. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah, that's right.
As if they're all the bosses, 12 bosses. Like, so there's a very interesting dynamic here, as you mentioned earlier. And as Parks and Recs staff are being pulled, maybe all the dynamics within the chamber will need to be able to sort out so that staff won't be feeling not getting things done, yet there's so much demand. And I'm just a little bit worried about this whole situation. It's starting to have this kind of personality dynamic that is skewed.
I'll say this is like a civic lesson in the making. Your constituency, you can vote, you can, write your letters, you can show up and talk, you can pressure. But it's your right as a citizen or resident to not necessarily look at the bureaus as the ones that are gonna be changing this, but you have to do your civic duty and participate beyond voting in, right? It's great when you have a bulldog in your corner. It's, it's a whole different situation when there's several of them and they're going at each other. So I'll say this because I think we're getting into a place that maybe is beyond the board in some ways. But yeah, civic participation and getting out there and going beyond voting every 2 or 4 years. Matt, please go ahead.
Yeah, unrelated to the prior conversation, I thank you for your report, Joey, and if you can answer this, understand why. If I understand you correctly, there is not gonna be an opportunity for the board to weigh in on the PGE appeal, is that?
That's from what we understand. If that is not the case, we will definitely, I will retract that and we will send out a
Even-
call for assistance.
So even folks that gave testimony, they will not be to do that.
Correct. That's our understanding as it is right now.
It'd be good to clarify that, because I mean, I got a mailing, I know Ellie got a mailing, the appeal, which would suggest that maybe there's an opportunity, but yeah,
Yeah.
you know more than we do,
If we
so-
know, if our understanding is that right
Okay,
now,
great,
and
thank
that there won't be an opportunity for public testimony.
I have two questions about the STCs. There was a motion to take a $50 million loan from the parks, so I'm curious if you know the financial implications to that. And then I think you said there's gonna be July vote on pausing the STCs, if you have a sense of how strong council support is for that. And if the council is, if they're supportive of that, if they're considering that in the context of capital needs, the levy for parks, like are they connecting all those threads?
I don't know if I completely understand the question. Are you asking like about the loan, the 50 million?
Oh, so it's three separate questions. So first of all,
Yeah,
that $50
okay.
million loan, is there any financial implications to parks? or
No, it's a loan that has
Okay.
happened before.
Got it,
I
okay.
don't know the specifics on it, but it's something that's been done in the past.
Okay, great. And then switching to the pause on the SDCs.
Yes.
Do we have a sense of how much support there is in council for that? And if there is support, like are those folks also thinking about how they can backstop the loss of that as they talk about the levy? and
I
capital?
don't know the level of support from council right now that it has. I do know that we have a document, and when I say this, I don't know that it's shareable just yet. That we do have a document that does list all the projects that we would have to put on hold
Okay, and that,
because of the SDCs.
thank you, and that vote again is July
16, I think. They're waiting until after the budget has been
July 16th. So like if we were to do some sort of advocacy, we would need to take action to
Yeah.
this meeting.
July 16th is the third week of the month, so that council session will occur in the evening at 6 p.m.
So maybe, I don't know, if we
Put a
wanna
motion.
think about, putting a motion forward to authorize the board to draft some correspondence or take some action.
Do you wanna put a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to authorize a working group to develop a written statement and any other sort of advocacy to the council regarding the impact of SDC with the support of support, hopefully, of the Parks Board staff in helping us with that.
So I just want to be clear, are you asking the impact of not having SDCs or?
Yeah, so my understanding the vote would be to eliminate the SDCs for a period of 5 years.
And has there been conversations, 'cause that was my next question, on what the impact of reducing SDCs? So, you're adding 5,000 units, which is great, but now you're putting more of a burden on your infrastructure that's aging out, and then we're gonna get bid at the other end.
our growth for growth, we won't be able to keep up.
Exactly. And then we'll be in that deficit again as we are in parks with maintenance, so.
Thank you for putting that in context. Thank you for putting that in context. That's
Just to be
important.
clear, we still have, because we are transitioning from one set of officers to another, as well as we have people that are offboarding. So the levy funding ad hoc committee is probably gonna have to be disbanded and recreated, if that's what we're gonna do. So I think maybe the language is around creating an ad hoc committee to follow up on this particular situation, and if there's anybody who's going to be willing to take up that work.
What about the new members? Can they?
What's the deadline? It's in July.
Yeah, well,
It will be voted on in July 18th. So the new members would be voted in at that point.
so
What's
they
the date on the
cannot
new members?
start earlier.
But we also don't have, they're on recess.
If
in
they don't,
July.
You don't
So
have a
we
board
to
meeting in
put it- we
July.
can't-
Starting July 1st is when their terms start.
We can't put people in place to serve on an ad hoc committee prior to them being on the board.
As a committee, though? Like-
yeah,
like Casey?
can they be community members?
Did anybody ask Casey if that's the labor that he wants to do? I
No,
mean,
no, I'm not saying, I'm not calling Casey, I'm saying, Hillary, so like, these are also people that would not be board members like Casey.
Right.
That's what, that was my.
So it's what I wanna get away from is telling other people to do work that you yourself would not do. So who is volunteering to be part of this ad hoc committee?
Yeah.
To write a letter? And then you might have to craft the letter and then we might have to vote on it via online when we're at recess, unless you can do it at the end of the month. So how, if you're gonna put forward a motion, what is the logistics of making this happen? And I see a hand on the, Ally, go ahead.
Well, I more just wanted to say that I don't think we should ask any new board member to be on anything before they've attended a board meeting as their first board meeting. I want everyone just to take a moment and remember what it was like coming on as a new board member and it being, you know, a massive learning experience. Not that I'd want to shut it down if someone was really passionate about it, and that's great, but I don't want to have that expectation on new board members. And yeah, I'm happy to work as a second on a letter, and I know we're in recess, but you know, we're in recess, but the levy is this year. And the levy
Yes.
is a really big deal. So I don't think we have the luxury of the work stopping. I think it's nice to not, you know, give a moment to not have a board meeting, and you know, that helps with people's summer schedules and all that. But I do think it's important that the levy work does continue and that the levy ad hoc committee is recreated. So my hope is that it's more than just the two of us. So I would ask who else is interested and willing to be a part of the new ad hoc committee.
Well, these are two separate things. One is the SDC, right? And that's what Matt is putting forward. The other one is the ad hoc group that's focusing on the levy. So these are two potentially separate groups, unless you want to put it in and we have like a letter writing committee that is going to be churning out letters on both of those topics. But what we voted in for the levy committee to do.
Sorry,
We
I
will
thought you
have
were
to-
looping the SDCs in with the levy conversation for that ad hoc group to work
Well,
on. Sorry, I
if
misunderstood.
you want to put that on the table for us to do that, go ahead and put a motion forward so we can vote for that, but we can't. You see what I'm saying? These are,
I think separating
Can
the
I-
two does not really help the messaging. I think they do influence.
I think they're separate.
They're separate timeframes, right?
Yeah,
Levy's
separate
much longer
timeframes.
fuse.
there's
Yeah.
separate
It's much bigger,
information,
right?
separate votes.
Yeah, I don't think they're
So-
necessarily linked.
The levy ad hoc committee could absorb more people and can continue to work on that because we've already been voted in to do that work. So if somebody wants to be added to that, that's fine. But this is a separate ad hoc committee that's looking at this very specific issue with a very specific deadline. And it asks for a letter from the board. So do we have the language? And do we have the folks that want to put in that work? That's what's on the table. See a hand. Is
Casey,
that Casey? Yeah.
oh, you're on mute, Casey.
Sorry, I'm in the dark. So a quick question, then I've got a comment. So what's the projected date of city council voting on the SDC temporary, you know, it's not extinguished, but not.
Pause.
Pause.
So
Pause, yeah.
the date of the vote is July 16th.
Oh, actually, so it's actually the same day as the levy vote?
Yes.
Interesting. My suggestion in terms of a group is, you know, I don't see any reason why you couldn't do it as one subgroup or ad hoc group. And my suggestion on the group is that even though that would be made up of at least three, the three being one, at least three, one person being on the board now and continuing, one person being on the board now or continuing or rolling off, so I'm nominating myself. And then one person who isn't officially on the board yet, who will be on the board by the time of the final vote. My thought is that it'd be good to have at least two people who are able to testify at the time the vote it comes up. But as always, I'm happy to help. So if you want me on, I'd be happy to contribute to that. And I think you could do it as one committee as opposed to two, but I would have it as a vote for both. Supporting the levy at the appropriate rate, as well as being against the pause at the SDC.
Want to give us the language for the motion, Casey?
Oh, I'd amend Matt's motion to have the, what do we call it? The levy writing committee? What do we call it? What's the old?
Levy and funding
Yeah,
strategy.
Strategies Committee.
Ad hoc committee, yeah.
Of such members that are willing and are as appointed by the current chair to draft a letter as they deem appropriate and provide such advocacy as they deem appropriate in support of a levy at the rate of, I'm not sure, as well as against the pause of the SDCs.
Thank you, Casey. Okay, so we have a motion. Do you have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. Discussion, who wants to be on the ad hoc? I believe it's Ally, myself, Casey, you're gonna join us as a community member? Possibly? Silence.
No, I'm a member until the 1st of July.
Okay,
So
so-
I'll join as a member now and then and as a community member thereafter, but I do strongly recommend that someone who's new be on the committee as well, if they can do it.
Matt, are you
Yes,
joining?
absolutely.
Matt is joining the committee, on the ad hoc committee. Sue-Ann, are you joining?
Oh, I see a hand, maybe.
Answer the question. Are you joining the ad hoc?
How big do you want this ad hoc committee?
I thought you said 3, as a minimum, right?
Well, we also need folks that are gonna show up and testify as well. So are you?
And we
committing
need
that?
it to be less than a certain number,
It needs
correct,
to be less
Corbin?
than 7.
Yeah, I know. They have
Are you,
quorum.
huh?
You're gonna max out a quorum for.
I heard Sue say yes, I think you said. yes.
So
No, I
We
did- I-
won't-
no,
we
I
won't
did-
hit
I did-
quorum. We're not
no,
hitting
I
quorum.
did-
We have Ally, we have Casey, we have Sue-Ann, and we have Matt, and you have myself. That's 5.
That's fine.
You have one
So we're
more?
not hitting quorum.
We're not hitting
Quorum is
quorum.
7. So if we would like if a new board member would like to join this ad hoc committee, then it'll be at 6. That is.
And that's
acceptable.
where we're at.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussions?
I have a process question. I feel like in the past, we may have also authorized the subcommittee to sort of send the materials or send the letters, do the advocacy without a formal board vote. Maybe I'm mistaken on that. Certainly
Yes,
there's
we've
a
done that
process.
We have done that before.
Okay,
The letter
yeah.
itself does not necessarily need a board vote.
Yeah, so do we want to do that, especially in the context of the July SDC?
I would
That was-
argue
that was the intent of the
motion
motion.
includes that.
That was, okay, so that.
That was the intent of the motion.
Yes.
Okay,
So that
it
gets
wasn't
folded
explicitly
into the
stated. Great,
motion.
Yes.
okay.
Great, and then we have a hand.
Yes, Jacob Carson, potential incoming board member pending city council approval. I'd be happy to join this as just as a citizen, but I did want to confirm what date the actual advocacy would take place on.
July 16th is the vote where you would potentially testify.
Got it. That works for me.
All right. Votes,
We have a vote.
okay.
Raise your hands. Present
If you're-
board members,
If
not
you're
new
in
ones.
favor, if you're in favor for what has been discussed, and all those in favor?
Great, thank you.
Any abstentions? Any votes against? All right, thank you so much, folks. Thank you for bringing that forward, Matt. Great.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the ad hoc committee for Parks Levy is working very, very closely, or maybe even is like, maybe involves Jessica, because we don't want our communications to be separate and just come from one place. So maybe there's a collaboration there with
That's why I
working
thought
with
we
the
should
foundation.
have the 2 topics be.
Well,
maybe
now
it's
they are
the same-
together.
They
They
are
are together.
They are
Okay.
together, but they're gonna be probably separate letters.
Yes,
Right.
correct.
Because they're 2 separate issues. What we've done in the past with the levy letters is have given it to Director Long and staff to fact check and make sure that we're correct with our information before submitting it.
Yep.
And so I'm I'm suspecting that we're gonna continue to do the same thing.
I will also add that because Jessica is an ex officio member, she does not add to the quorum, so she can join on even with all the folks that are interested.
Great, thank you so much. All right, folks. And this is how the board runs. All right, thank you for all the volunteers and we're gonna move on. Are we ready to move on to the working group reports? Board Affairs Working Group, is there anything to report?
Nothing in
Or are
addition.
there? Okay, thank you, Casey. Any questions? Land Use and Infrastructure Working Group, anything to report? Matt, you please. Nope, okay. Any questions from the board? Community Engagement Working Group, anything to report to the board? I think so. Any question for board members? Culture, Nature, and Recreation Working Group, Ally, anything to report in?
No.
Any questions from the board? And then we have the Financial Sustainability Working Group, Casey, anything to report in?
We haven't had a meeting since the last one. We're gonna have a meeting day after tomorrow.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you so much, folks. Portland Parks Foundation. Jessica, the floor is yours.
Wonderful. Before we go to the other stuff, while we're on the levy conversation, thank you, Joey, for bringing that up. And I was going to bring this up during my part, but I definitely think it would be helpful for us to communicate so that, I mean, our messages do not have to be the same, but there's so many conversations going on right now in terms of what the right levy rate is. And I will, something that we shared last time when Noah was here is just sort of what we're really trying to work towards is a unified, as much as it can be, council, or, putting a levy forward where we're not creating a ton of opposition. And so we want the highest rate that can be the most successful. But one of the things that I will say, and I did have a email that maybe was shared with, I think I shared with you, but and it just kind of relates back to some of the conversation earlier. Council often hears from people when they're disgruntled. They don't necessarily hear from people when things are really strong and working. And I think that I don't want to downplay those who are disgruntled. I think that there's always opportunity for strengthening partnerships or, how we all engage with each other. But I also wanted to sort of put a call to action out to let people know that council is hearing people. And I think it's important that if you or any of the communities that you're connected to have, success stories of impact with partnerships, also share those. I think it's a really critical moment to share those stories as well. That's sort of my little piece there, that not just advocating for a levy, but like advocating for partnerships is a piece that I think would be really strong for city council to hear. And let's definitely collaborate on the levy conversation. It is, yep, there's a lot of conversation going on there. But unrelated to, I guess, levy stuff, there's just a lot of fun updates. I know there's some new people here, and I don't know that you're super familiar with the Portland Parks Foundation, so I will just give a quick overview in case you're not. The Portland Parks Foundation is an independent 501c3 nonprofit. We have our own governing board. We kind of high level call ourselves like the chief philanthropic partner of PPNR, but we are a citywide parks nonprofit. We do different areas of work. We do capital projects, public-private partnerships with the city. We also do a lot of programming and what we call our Friends and Allies initiatives that are geared towards building the capacity of the Friends and Partners Network. So the Friends of groups, the partners who activate program in parks. We do that in a variety of ways through grant making, technical workshops. We also offer fiscal sponsorship and just sort of general collaborative thinking. And then we support advocacy work. And so like in its simplest form, we've been sort of championing the internal conversation and process for levy referral. We have a new form of government. None of them were sure what a levy referral process would actually be. So we've been working, we hired a political consultant, and we've been working with council and parks leadership. And then we did some polling earlier in the year. But that's like a really quick snapshot into the Portland Parks Foundation. We're kind of involved in a bunch of different layers. And we sit ex officio on this board, and somebody from this board also sits ex officio on ours. So we do a lot of collaborative work together, which is really nice. Any questions from newer members? Cool. Well, I'm excited to get to know you all, and there are some events that are fun if you are able to come to. They're also a great way to get to know the broader network of park partners. But going to just some updates on our projects, our playground campaign, which you've heard a lot about. We had a great activation event on June 7th at Portland Heights Park, which we launched the design renderings at and got community feedback on. The survey is currently live. We'll share that out. But that's the second of 3 playgrounds that we are working with PPNR and community members to redesign. I would love for all of you to put on your calendar August 23rd, which is TKO Fest at George Park in North Portland. George Park is actually getting a whole new park design, but it's part of our playground campaign. And on August 23rd, we'll be also getting a lot of community feedback on the design options there. It's also an event with music. There's a lot of mutual aid work that goes into it with backpack, get ready for back to school giveaways. Last year, they actually gave away 100 bikes, and they had a food pantry, and it's a great event for North Portland. And we will all be there.
Did you say the 23rd?
Yes, August 23rd. I don't know the time. I'll get back to you on the time. It might actually be out because I think Summer Free for All schedule is out. But the 23rd at George Park. I know some of you were at it last year. And then we just had our spring summit in the end of May. Actually, it was on that Marathon Council Day. So it had a little bit of a different vibe because there were very few city leadership there because they were all at city council. But at that event, we were able to honor all the nominees and the recipients of our volunteer and leadership awards. I definitely recommend when you get our email, take a look at the nominees and the honorees. It's just another great way to learn about all the creative, innovative ways that people are supporting the parks community. I will also note there were mentions, I know, in the board packet. We are working closely with PPNR on a solution for the Portland International Raceway funds. The agreement is not finalized, but we are looking to be the administrator of the small grants in North Portland. So we will be putting together a grant committee that operates similar to our current small grants, except it will be all made up of North Portland community members. And we'll look to launch that in the fall. So stay tuned on that. And then the other exciting, almost final news is we've been able to secure an additional almost 800,000 for the North Portland Park Blocks expansion. So we're working to finalize that agreement with Oregon Community, a fund at Oregon Community Foundation and PPNR. So I know all of those were kind of briefly mentioned in there, but that gives a little bit more background into the size and what we're talking about. So those are kind of our fun developments that I wanted to share. That's it. That's all I have for right now.
Thank you so much. Open the floor to the board. Swen?
2 questions. Well, one is just an acknowledgement. I picked up the poster, the print, sorry, the print of from the show that was at Power Bookstore Gallery, ran by the foundation, was exceptionally exciting. My other question is, any update on the stag installation, or what's the process there?
The elk?
At the elk.
The elk is November. Yep. The elk is still scheduled for November. They're at the moment on schedule. There's just been that funny delay because after all the contracts were signed and a notice to proceed was administered, then started the procurement of the stones. And that took a long time. It's like a 6-month time in between. And also the fabrication of the steel vault that, or not vault, what is it? That the water is held in. I'm totally blanking on the name right now. But both of those two things have just, so there's sort of this quiet phase. But hopefully we'll have a groundbreaking, a very, casual but fun groundbreaking soon. And then it will return in November.
Thank you.
Erin? This is not a question for Jessica, so if anyone has a question for Jessica. Swen reminded me of something. I don't think it's a question for you.
Go ahead.
Just bringing up the elk, it's been a lot. I don't want to open any kind of can of worms, but what's the process on, I know there was money going to study or I don't know, surveying or something for the other statues or what to do. I mean, they're just, blank, what do you call that? Pedestals in the park blocks. Where'd that land?
Also at the Mount Tabor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Is there a process going around that or did it just get
That's,
dropped?
It hasn't been dropped. I will say it's not really a parks project anymore. It's more in the arts. Now that we've developed the arts and culture group, they are the ones that are kind of in charge of all the statues. I can get an update because I know Darian Jones, who used to be a staff member of Commissioner Ryan when he was commissioner, who then transferred over to arts and culture, has been heading on that because whenever people ask me about it, I usually direct it to him because he's the one taking care of it. I can ask for a status update and provide it after the meeting.
So I just dropped in the chat 2 links. One is to the broader Portland Monuments conversation. And then the second one actually gives updates on all the status. So some of them will return. Some are not returning. And I think that there might be some that are not yet determined.
Okay, cool.
It actually gives the history and then it gives what the status is of each of them.
Okay, thanks.
And the what the feedback was.
Oh. Thank you. Looks like we have a hand on the screen and then Matt.
Adrian?
Yeah, quick question for Jessica. So, in these tight times, just give us a little update on, efforts to get more private donations for the park system. You've been working on that, right?
Yeah, actually, I've been working closely with Kelly Torres. We're presenting, I think, in a week and a half on kind of a vision for strategic partnerships. So that is in conversation, if you've been, which I'm sure all of you have been following even council's conversation about why isn't there more big partnership. That's out there. And so, yes, that's a conversation, but I think it's also the North Portland Park Blocks is an example of kind of what we can do if we put ourselves out there and be able to. They were curious about what sort of projects were happening. This funded OCF, and we were able to provide some suggestions of current projects that were happening and able to secure another $800,000 for it. So, but again, yes, that is in conversation. I know that was a project that Todd Lofgren, before he left, had initiated internally around kind of mapping up where the current landscape is on the public-private partnership and future opportunities. So we are picking that back up.
So in the future, you'll be able to sort of update us on, efforts to have people, have legacy funds for parks and all those kinds of things. People leaving, post-death money, estates, the full range of private, and maybe I just don't know enough about what the efforts have been and what they could be, but it would be, I would really appreciate a discussion of that at some future board meeting.
So you're talking more about legacy gifts rather than like, corporate partnerships.
Well, I think the whole kit and the caboodle. Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like an interest on philanthropy landscape regarding parks funding.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a kind of a hot topic of how we can do more.
Thank you. Matt, go ahead.
Jessica, a few questions about the Portland Raceway Fund. Is that a mitigation fund? Is that new? And then how much is the funding for that annually?
Yeah, the Portland International Race Fund, it's a mitigation fund. Anybody who does programming there pays into the fund because of the noise pollution. So the funds are earmarked specifically for North Portland community benefits. There's a boundary that it's mapped out for, and there's specific, I think, statutory language around like what it can be used for. Historically, the grant making was done by Office of Civic Life. And if I recall, I think during the pandemic, things shut down and then it was not picked back up again. It was recently identified as sort of a stagnant fund that needs to get the funds back out into the community. So PPF is working with PPNR to say, hey, we have a grant program in place. We can administer the North Portland, we can administer the PIR grant funds as a part of our, separate part, but similar to our small grants program, and just work with the North Portland community, which we've already been very much involved in as a result of just our small grants program generally, and then our George Park community engagement work. And so the fund itself, I think usually, I don't actually want to quote it, but I think as we talk about it, it would probably be between like, depending on programming, but around 30 to 50,000 for small grants a year, with maybe some also going towards some sponsorships. But it's a program, like I'm working with June and Megan to identify like the grant programs and the sponsorships for it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, moving forward to the legislative update from Amanda.
So Amanda, I was just gonna text you, but basically we have about 25 minutes. We do pause for public comment, but if you think that's enough time.
I'll leave it to the board. So I had prepared for a 45-minute conversation that included question and answers. So I could sort of fly through it, but there really won't be opportunity for questions, and it's a lot of policy content to absorb in a short period. So I do feel bad eating into public comment periods. So I'll leave it to folks to decide. I could sort of fly through the legislative update. We are still in legislative session, and I feel like there were a lot of pressing issues that folks needed to discuss given what's going on with council. So I could absolutely come back at a future meeting and give a more robust discussion. I don't think it's pressing, but I'll leave it to the chair and the board to decide.
I guess my first question would be, are there parts to it that you can like give us like a first half or first third? Or is it
not really? Yeah, it's a presentation, so it would be difficult to pull it apart in real time.
Okay. I'll open up the floor to the board, but I'll also say this, and again, as somebody that's stepping off from being the chair, not to have such lengthy presentations in the future. 45 minutes seems like a lot to take up, but I understand that.
I think that was including discussion.
Does that include? And it's something that I have heard from board members over my time as the chair, that if we can get them down to like 20 minutes, to open for board discussion, but Amanda, I want to apologize that because we were having such robust discussions that we did not have the allotted time that you were expecting. So that is a failure on my part. I'm going to open up the floor to the board on how you want to move forward with this. Matt, go ahead.
Amanda, I appreciate you coming here. Sorry to keep you waiting. I would say there's also an opportunity for us to make sure all of the new board has an opportunity to hear your updates. So I would, for that reason, also ask and then there's also an opportunity maybe for us to use that time for an update to get a download from very exhausted looking Director Long, potentially. Or we can just leave early. It could be your time.
The tank is empty.
Yeah.
Other thoughts?
I just want to say I agree. I think if you prepared a 45-minute presentation, it's important, and I think we should wait versus getting a truncated version of it. And I apologize for your time being wasted this evening.
No, I do want to say I think part of it is a timing issue. We've been in legislative session for 5 months, and there's so many moving threads that Parks is engaged in. And given what was happening today in council, I do just want to appreciate the conversation, the opportunity to listen in, and just appreciate you all as board members for your engagement in these issues. I do feel like the discussions that happened were really important, and I'm around, I'm staff, so I'll be around to give presentations in the future. And the session is scheduled to end at the end of June. And so in the next conversation or future conversation, we'll have more firm results or a better sense of how this all shakes out at the state level.
For extending us grace, Amanda. We are required to be here until at least 6:45 because we need to hold up that space for public comment. Is there any words of wisdom that you could possibly give us on what we should be focusing on or looking into? Websites or how to engage the materials that you're going to be providing or presenting in the future. So maybe we can give a little background before the next time we see you.
Yeah, I guess I could give a little primer on how I approach these presentations. Just to let folks know, I have provided this presentation internally to our senior management team and to our leadership across the Bureau. And so this was an opportunity to bring the board up to speed around some of the priorities that PPNR has been engaged in for the legislative session. And you might be curious about why IB, as the Equity and Inclusion Manager, would be providing this presentation. Equitable policy development and coordination is a core strategy within our equity portfolio. And so in the future, I will share a little bit more about what our equity portfolio looks like and how equitable policy development fits in there. I usually try to give a little bit of a level set background about how our legislative process works before I dive into what the priorities are. I also want to say that we had over 60 policies that were flagged for PPNR this session, and PPNR was responsive on at least 30 of them. So I had sort of set it up so you could see the spread across the different divisions in which policies each division was addressing, what the core issues were there. And I think high level, we had a good session. So I'll leave with that. I know the council process is a little stressful right now, but we did have our forestry team really engaged on the governor's housing bills, for example, and providing feedback on some of the permitting requirements, ensuring that our tree canopy is protected and that Portland standards are adhered to. And so just want to give a shout out to our forestry team which is going through a lot today, obviously, on their work in collaborating with the governor's office. We did a lot of work on the Portland International Raceway with our recreation team and having conversations with Representative Nelson to talk about, basically he was proposing a ban on diesel fuel that would have essentially shut down the Portland International Raceway. And so we had a lot of pre-session conversations with him to phase that in, and that legislation did not move forward, but we're still in conversation with the legislature and also city council about what's going to happen with PIR moving forward. Shout out to Maximo and his team for the good work that they've been doing there. Our safety operations risk management team was focused on many different pieces of legislation, but some of the bills that we were tracking closely and engaged in include SB 300. So this was a bill basically that was defining private security entities and was inadvertently defining or basically determining that our park rangers they were getting pulled in inadvertently into that definition. And so there are requirements and fines that were coming with that. And so we were able to get that definition fixed and expect that that's going to move forward. It's actually was being heard today. And then we have a lot of bills that our land stewardship team was giving feedback on related to water quality and standards and pesticides. And so I would say overarchingly, we had a very positive session. There was also one bill, actually, I'll flag this one for you. I'm not sure if it'll move forward. We are in the home stretch of the legislative session, but it was basically a bill that would have basically created a fund at the state where the state would ensure that cities were compensated when they deferred SDCs. So it is relevant to the conversation that's happening here at the local level, but it doesn't seem like those two policies are necessarily talking to each other. So that's a bill that's sitting in the Ways and Means Committee at the state level. And it's something that we were tracking and commenting on before we learned about the proposal at the local level here to the SDC proposal that's on the table from the mayor's office. And so, yeah, was just going to cover some of those pieces, let folks know where those were at, and talk a little bit about some preliminary insights around our capacity. Another piece of good news to let folks know is that we are, for our equity inclusion team, hiring a new policy analyst to support with a lot of these policy efforts, both at the state level, but also at the local level. We talked a little bit about our teams being stretched thin as they're being called to respond to so many different policy related requests. That recruitment was out over the last month, and we received over 250 applications for that position. Wow. So we are in it right now. And so basically that's what I was doing right before coming to this meeting is going through those applications, but our hope is to get somebody on board within the next month. So there's a need, but folks want to work for parks, and we're excited to bring in more capacity in the context of everything that's going on.
Thank you.
That's a lot. I'll give more specifics in the future, but I'm happy to answer any big questions folks might have.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you. Quick question. So hopefully when we welcome you back, and we'll make sure that we have adequate time for the presentation, the materials that are in our board packet, do you think they're going to change much? So this might give us more time to review it for the next time we see you.
I'm not sure you all have access to the slide presentation that I was going to give. I will give that to Michelle so she can share that with the board in advance, and y'all can take a look at that and we can have a robust conversation about those policies.
That would be great. Thank you so much. Question, Sue-Ann.
Question, so you just mentioned about SDC. How is that relate to our discussion about drafting this letter? Is this...
Yeah, I would say, unfortunately, the way the bill is drafted, and I'm trying to find it in my notes right now, essentially the state would take the way the bill is drafted, the state was hopefully this will move forward. I'm not sure if it will, but the state is being asked to allocate $10 million to a state agency to basically ensure that that state agency has capacity to work with the developers to pay back deferred SDCs. I'm not sure if that would apply if you're waiving SDCs. So this is where it became a little bit confusing as we were looking at local efforts to waive SDCs versus defer them. I'm not sure if we'd get paid back if we did that. And I did bring it to our budget team's attention and to our government relations team's attention, and folks are realizing that those two weren't necessarily talking to each other, but it's not clear, as I mentioned, that the state bill is going to pass this session. There's over 3,000 bills that were introduced, so there's a big logjam that's happening, and it's sitting waiting in the Ways and Means Committee.
I guess a question for Director Long. I understand that you're probably
I'm listening.
At capacity. So we reconfigured the ad hoc committee for the levy and funding. And we're adding STC to it, and so we're gonna have a separate letter. And who would we loop in? Would it be Amanda to review our letter prior to sending it into council? Because I think it's
I would loop in Claudio Capizano. And he might also loop in Daniel Cornejo, who is our SDC manager, but he reports to Claudio. So I think Claudio is just like your first step, and then if he has to bring in staff to do another look, he'll figure that out.
Is that helpful, Soren?
Yeah.
That would be our reviewers letter. Just really quickly, a time check. Is there anybody who is online that are here for public comment?
No.
Right, so we can continue. Any other questions from the board? Amanda, again, thank you so much. I apologize for not giving you the full time that you needed for the presentation. I look forward to getting a packet of information beforehand so we can thoroughly review it, so we can engage you deeply in this because it's very important. Any other questions? Leaving the floor open to the board. Matt, go ahead.
So the amendments that were put forward today, I'm not getting into specifics of those, but is that typically posted somewhere?
Yeah.
That's available?
If you go on the, if you go to the city website and just go to council agenda, like it'll say city council, right?
Right.
And you go to today's date and agenda.
Right.
One of the amendments says like, what is the language?
I and J, what was?
You know, but before he gets that, you have to click on, like, you have to go many layers.
Okay.
But yeah, the I and J are the attachments that have one, the amendment by policy area, and then the other one is amendment by council member.
I can show you.
Yeah, that may be after the meeting, yeah.
So, yeah, it's well hidden.
Yeah.
Not really, I mean, you just have to know to like keep on clicking and clicking and clicking.
Actually just sent a link.
Oh, there you
If
go.
you look in to
agenda updates.
portland.gov/budget.
Why don't you go through it? Just
It's
click
under
on the-
agenda updates. I see.
Share your screen, open the thing and share your screen, do it,
Um,
because it's not intuitive. In fact, I click all over the place till I get to it.
yeah, we do too, like when it comes to council documents and where they're being uploaded, sometimes it's confusing. So there is the proposed budget amendments with changes, and this is not immediately up to date. I think the last update was yesterday.
No, in
Okay.
fact, this afternoon.
Okay, sorry.
And it's not even reflective on this, so
Yeah.
like,
So some of them show passing and some of them show withdrawal. I think they're trying to just update it as quickly as possible.
I mean, look, you can see like, they, like,
The changes
in
they
real
make.
time, they're making edits.
And you know, if we look at
Well,
parks-
there's a person there who's scribing the amendments that are coming up on the floor, so amendments to the amendment.
So this would, you know, passed.
Yeah.
But
It's
this one is specifically by
as clear as
the
mud.
council, counselors.
Can you give us just a snapshot
Yeah.
of your feelings?
Dashboard. So Zimmerman 1 and 2 and 3, which is what we were really concerned about, which was a complete gutting of urban forestry permitting and regulation, was withdrawn and replaced with Zimmerman, I want to say 17 and 18 or 16 and 17, which is a partial gutting of urban forestry permitting regulation. And it passed, both amendments passed. One was to transfer
$2.1 million of levy funding from the program towards park maintenance. And the second amendment, this is very loose, right? Like, I don't have the language directly or exactly. The second amendment was to transition the permitting and regulation team to Portland Permitting and Development.
For urban forestry.
Yes.
Their functions would be the same or different?
Yes.
Just how.
So, yes, and so that was sort of the argument or justification that I think, proponents of or supporters of the amendment made, that it retains the function, retains the staff, although it's less money, so something's gotta give, right? Like, we're taking funds away from the,
Two million, is that?
yeah, 2.1. And then moving the function to another division, they want it effective by October 1st. And it's just gonna be a big lift for Portland Permitting and Development because they don't manage this type of work. And we're not sending our manager with the program, so, or at least I don't think we are. I don't know.
Is that 2 million that was redirected from?
2.1 million.
No, sorry, from the last budget amendment from Alvo's, that 1.9 or 2.1.
No, that's separate.
But is that still?
That was still standing as of today, but
You mean the
they
police
got
one?
through, they only got through
Yeah, I
two
wanna be careful how
amendments.
I message that, but yes, the police one.
They only got through two amendments in, three? Okay, three amendments in 3.5 hours, so. So we're going back at 9:30 tomorrow.
I have a civic question. Director Long, if you can answer it, if you can't, completely understand that. Is there some sort of auditing of the cost of this process with all these configurations? Or is that baked into the numbers that are being moved around? Because I would love to know the cost of this restructuring at this point.
Well, I think that there's probably some tracking of funds around the the transition, but generally, but this was all unforeseen sort of, collateral damage, I guess. I don't even know how to explain it.
I'm just saying,
I don't-
we're not gonna be unscathed by additional costs because of these restructurings and how things are.
Well,
being moved around.
so when these amendments hit the floor, there's also there's new amendments that we didn't see 3 weeks ago. The third one was a bundle of amendments that would reduce E&M from a multitude of bureaus to pay for other things. So for instance, there was a reduction of almost $600,000 or almost $700,000 from Parks EMS, but they're paying us back, like they're restoring the community center hour reduction, they're restoring one of the dispatchers, but it's not one for one, right? They were restoring about $400,000 worth of cuts, but it's costing us $700,000. So I'm not good at math, but
I just wonder if there's gonna be
I can do that much on my
some sort
calculator.
of auditing of what transpired, so we don't have missing or unaccounted for.
I mean, we have Claudio who's good, but I would say that I think there's general consensus from city leadership and city council about being generally dissatisfied with the process. So I'm gonna guess that in the next 6 to 8 months, there's gonna be a lot of budget process reform going on.
Transparency.
Yes,
focus.
and it's not so much like the process, I don't think it doesn't have so much of it's a problem. But the city has systems, right? and the way they track everything. And I think there's a lack of knowledge, understanding, or capability for many of the council members who've never had to deal with such complex, budgets. To, like, they get the information, they have all of it, they just don't know how to navigate it, they don't know how to extract the information. And I don't know, I mean, I still get like tied up, right? Like, it's really, really complex, and every bureau is different. And then we have a multitude of different types of revenue and what you can and can't do with it. It's not, clear as mud. It's not, it's.
I'm just thinking it on the constituency side that it needs to be made legible to us, so we also know what's going on in our government.
I think that the listening sessions that they had this year were a good addition. I don't know how you make the ledger more clear for lay people. I just don't.
I wonder if there's any models in other cities, or if this is just the normal practice.
I mean, I worked in New York City and it was just as messy. And but you also had a committee that would gavel in as the budget committee just for that bureau. Like, it wasn't the entire, so it was very, the way they handled it was different. But
Do we, within Portland Parks, do we have an in-house legal counsel?
No,
Who do
but
you
we have-
advise?
we have city attorney who's assigned to parks, but they're not in parks. They're part of the city attorney's office. She actually comes to many of our meetings, but I see why she's not recently. It's Linda Law is our main city attorney. And then we have some city attorneys that are specialized, like we have a city attorney who specializes in personnel law. There's a city attorney that is assigned to urban forestry specifically. He's just become a specialist, so.
And one for capital projects too.
Yeah, capital projects.
Folks, thank you so much, Director Long. So we are at 5:58. I'm going to take the last moment to thank both Casey and Aaron for their service. You're going to be missed. Please do not be a stranger. Be around. And also congratulations and thank you to Ally, our new chair, and Matt, our new vice chair. Welcome to all the new board members that we're gonna look forward to being part of a big cohort. And our colleagues, all right, with that said,
Thank you again for your leadership.
Yes.
I look forward to being on the other side with you folks. And so I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 5:59 PM. Thank you so much, folks.
Bye, everyone.
Night.
Night.